Szanowni Państwo,
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please, in this special moment, on the 83rd anniversary of deportation of the first Poles to KL Auschwitz, on behalf of the organizers and all of us gathered here, let me welcome the survivors present with us for the inmates of Auschwitz. Ms. Ewa Machaj-Antosiewicz, Ms. Irena Cyrankiewicz, Ms. Helena Dąbrowska, Ms. Barbara Doniecka, Ms. Barbara Wojnarowska-Gautier, Ms. Józefa Posz-Kotyrba, Ms. Elżbieta Ponywczyńska, Ms. Janina Zielińska, Mr. Antoni Domański, Mr. Jan Kułas, Mr. Władysław Osik, Mr. Wiesław Paciorek, and Mr. Grzegorz Tomaszewski. May I welcome also the Vice President of the Council of Ministers and Minister of Culture and National Heritage, Mr. Piotr Gliński, the President of the World Jewish Congress, Mr. Ronald Lauda, representatives of the President of the Republic of Poland, the Polish Parliament, Polish state authorities and territorial authorities, representatives of the diplomatic corps, churches and religious communities, representatives of the Romani Pen, representatives of the state institutions, associations, foundations, and all those present for whom the memory of the Poles, victims of the German system of hatred and terror, is dear. May I now invite the director of the museum, Mr. Piotr Cywiński.
Drodzy ocalali,
dear survivors,
bardzo wam dziękuję, że jesteście dzisiaj
I am so grateful for your presence with us here on this day.
Trudno sobie wyobrazić.
It's hard to imagine, ladies and gentlemen, the dramatism of this first transport. It did not leave for Auschwitz from Tarnów. It went into the unknown. That might have been heavy labor, some other camp, some prison or camp created in Germany before the war, or perhaps just mass murder. They had no clue. 729 people left. One escaped. He went running towards the forest. Shots were fired. We still don't know whether he made it for the forest or not. Probably the first victim of KL Auschwitz, even before the first transport reached this place. They were in Krakow, and then they were considering, will it be for Silesia or for the general government, where the tracks would go. And on the platform they heard the words, Paris has fallen. And then they learned all the rest. They were sent to this place. May I please now ask the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Culture and National Heritage, Professor Piotr Gliński. Could I please ask you to take the floor? I have found myself, just like all the new arrivals in Auschwitz, in the conditions that really demolished all the notions I had before. In a few days I was dazzled and stunned, as if they had transported me to another planet. I witnessed a picture of the macabre. Compared to those, Dante's Inferno was obliterated. Distinguished survivors, former inmates, members of the families. The words of Cavalry Captain Witold Pilecki I have quoted fully render the horror of the reality in the German Konzentrationslager Auschwitz. It's been 83 years since this criminal machine of death started turning. The wheels of the Nazi death and concentration camp KL Auschwitz started working. We consider this date the day when the first transport of 728 men arrived here from the prison in Tarnów, Poles whom Germany considered dangerous for the Third Reich. The camp that was organized here to exterminate Polish citizens soon, however, was introduced into the German plan of the so-called Endlösung, the final solution of the Jewish question, which really meant the mass murder of European Jews, and thus it became the global symbol of martyrdom of multiple peoples. The vastness of physical torture and torture rendered to the human spirit is beyond any possibility of wording them. On this day, the day of national remembrance for victims of the German Nazi and concentration camps and death camps, I would like to pay all my respects to the victims, inmates of Auschwitz and other concentration camps and their families. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the mission of the Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum in Auschwitz, Museum and Memorial, is commemoration and documentation of the murder and martyrdom of the victims of KL Auschwitz. It especially remembers the crimes committed here by the Nazi terror apparatus, by promoting the history, running educational activity and access to their collection, as well as ensuring that during the visits to this museum memorial, proper guidance is offered. That is why, with the new center for visitors being opened today, we feel that we have properly conducted our duties, as we have used funds from the EU funds, our own funds, and also the direct financial support of the Ministry of Culture and National Heritage. We've managed to include into the infrastructure providing services for the visitors. We've managed to bring back the two buildings, Schlachthaus and Milkerei, which were the slaughterhouse and the dairy building. These buildings used the efficient work of the German machine of terror and murder. They have a horrible past, yet now they will have new purposes. They will not only provide logistics for the millions of visitors, but will also allow to expand the message shared in this place. Here you can now watch the preliminary exhibition and a video that prepares you to visit the camp. We also have here a bookshop and the Center of Information about the inmates. May I thank all those who have contributed to carrying out this project, especially to the custodian of this place and the council, the whole team of the Museum Memorial Auschwitz-Birkenau. Thank you very much for this persistent plan of increasing accessibility, liquidation of architectural barriers, and opening to people with special needs. Thank you very much.
Szanowni Państwo, pod adresem
Ladies and gentlemen, our gathering here has been addressed a letter from the Marshal of the Polish Parliament. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the National Day of Remembrance for victims of the German Nazi and concentration camps and death camps makes us aware of the vastness of human tragedy that is vested in the violation of human rights, discrimination, intolerance, bias, and stereotypes. In the Nazi camps, the evil of the Nazi ideology showed itself with the worst face. It's hard to imagine today the vastness of terror, despair that these factories of death exude. It also forces us to reflection on how to build a world so that ideologies that are ready to subject the dignity of the human to other doctrines. We are due that. We owe that to the victims and all those who have survived. I pay all my homage and to all the people who experienced that. I hope that the commemoration of this day will have in mind the dignity of the human. This is something that pertains to all of us. Paying our homage to the victims, we want to go any lengths that good may win over evil. There are so few witnesses of those events surviving that we should the more remember their tragic fate. We cannot change the painful past, but we may together make sure that our children and grandchildren never again experience a similar tragedy. Let this be a lesson to us and to the generations to come. Yours respectfully, Elżbieta Witek, Speaker of the Sejm of the Republic of Poland. Ladies and gentlemen, on this day, at this moment, before we go on to pay our homage to the victims by the wall of death, I would like to announce something that is quite exceptional. Just like I said, it's hard to imagine what these people experienced walking the streets of Tarnów, boarding the train, and then arriving here on the premises of the city of Oświęcim. By now, we had only known several photographs from this first transport. Tarnów collector Marek Tomaszewski made a discovery of a whole file, of a whole book of photographs made by Germans, which includes several dozens of additional photographs from this first transport. The value of that discovery is compared to the best-known photo books of Auschwitz. Marek Tomaszewski also entrusted the digital copies of those photographs to the museum's archive. Through this, these photographs will be available to the whole world. Some of them already in the news from today's occasion, and most of them are in a book by Mr. Marek Tomaszewski, which has just been published. Could I now ask to have the first copy of this book delivered to Professor Gliński?
Składam szczególne podziękowania ocalałym.
I would like to thank especially the survivors, former inmates of KL Auschwitz. Thank you for coming here and being with us while we commemorate this National Day of Remembrance for victims of the German Nazi concentration camps and death camps. In a moment, in the authentic historic space of the Block 11, we will pay homage to the victims. May the flowers we lay be a symbol of our memory of the victims of Auschwitz. Now I request that the survivors, former victims of KL Auschwitz, lay the flowers down together with candles and with the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Culture and National Heritage, Mr. Piotr Gliński, member of the Oświęcim Council, and President of the World Jewish Congress, Mr. Ronald Lauder, and the Director of Auschwitz-Birkenau Museum Memorial, Mr. Piotr Cywiński, and on behalf of the President of the Republic of Poland, Mr. Andrzej Duda, Ms. Zofia Romaszewska.
Ten nam nie zrobił, bo on tutaj się zachowuje jak no, $1 000 000. No to wiem, że jest. Ja jestem od premiera.
Co jeszcze tam z kamerą? No naprawdę. Może wystawię się tam.
W imieniu marszałka Senatu pana Tomasza Grodzkiego znicz
On
złoty
behalf of the Marshal of the Senate of the Republic of Poland, the candle will be laid down by the Deputy Head of His Chancellery, Mr. Jarosław Stolarczyk.
W imieniu marszałek Sejmu pani Elżbiety Witek.
On behalf
Wieniec
of
złożą funkcjonariusze
Elżbieta
Straży
Witek, Marshal of the Sejm of the Republic of Poland, the laurel will be laid down by the Marshal's Guards of the Sejm.
No wiem właśnie. Ja widzę.
W imieniu prezesa Rady Ministrów pana Mateusza
On
Morawieckiego
behalf of the President of the Council of Ministers, Mr. Mateusz Morawiecki, flowers will be laid down by the Voivod of the Governor of Małopolska, Mr. Łukasz Kmita.
zapraszam ordynariusza diecezji bielsko-żywieckiej księdza biskupa Romana
Now I invite the Bishop of Bielsko-Żywiec Roman Catholic Diocese, His Excellency Roman Pindel, and representatives of churches and religious communities.
Proszę przedstawicieli korpusu dyplomatycznego. The representatives of the diplomatic corps, please come forward.
May I now invite the representatives of the diplomatic corps.
W imieniu marszałka województwa małopolskiego pana Witolda Kozłowskiego
On behalf of the Marshal of Małopolska Region and the Board of Małopolska Region, may I invite Mr. Jakub Przewoźnik.
zapraszam starostę oświęcimskiego, pana Andrzeja
May I invite now the Starost of Oświęcim, Mr. Andrzej Skrzypiński.
Zapraszam prezydenta miasta Oświęcim,
May I invite the Mayor of the City of Oświęcim, Mr. Janusz Chwierut.
zapraszam wójta gminy Oświęcim, pana Mirosława
May I invite now the headman of the Oświęcim Commune, Mr. Mirosław Smolarek.
Zapraszam członka Rady Muzeum, pana Romana Kwiatkowskiego.
May I invite Mr. Roman Kwiatkowski, member of the Council of the Museum, and Mr. Waldemar Łoziński on behalf of another member of the Museum Council, Ms. Beata Szydło.
O złożenie kwiatów i zniczy proszę
May I
delegację.
now invite for the flowers and candles from the co-organizers of this event.
Szanowni Państwo, zapraszam dyrekcję i pracowników.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, may I invite the management and staff of the museum, all the participants in this remembrance. Could we please lay all our flowers and light the candles? I'd like to thank for the presence the survivors of KL Auschwitz, the former inmates, representatives, authorities, institutions, churches and religious communities, and all of you gathered here. Thank you very much.